Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into one of the biggest questions hanging over the NBA right now. Can Anthony Edwards, the super exciting young guy for the Timberwolves, actually be the next face of the league? And maybe even, well, save it, like Michael Jordan is credited with doing back in his day.
It's a huge question, yeah. And look, we've pulled together a ton of sources for this deep dive. We're looking at, the hard stats, comparing careers point by point, but also digging into those things that are harder to measure, right?
Yeah.
Like the charisma, the mental side, how marketable these guys are.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack all of that. Does Edwards have the physical stuff, the mental game, and that cultural buzz to really carry the league? Because we're talking about potentially turning around viewership numbers that some reports say are dipping and making the NBA feel, I don't know, culturally essential again, kind of like Jordan did.
Exactly. And what the sources make pretty clear is that the NBA is definitely at a crossroads in 2025. You mentioned viewership. Well, a 2023 Forbes report flagged a 20% drop in finals viewership since just 2019. That's significant. And people put that down to a few things. Cord cutting, obviously, more competition from streaming, maybe even some fans getting a bit tired of the whole super team thing, where things felt a bit predictable.
Yeah, you kind of knew who'd be there at the end. And beyond the numbers, there's this feeling of a void opening up, isn't there? I mean,
Yeah.
Steph Curry, KD, LeBron, who's almost 40 now, these guys have been in the league for so long, driven so much interest. They're heading towards the end of their careers. The league needs someone new to grab the spotlight, grab the fans. So where does Ant-Man fit in?
That's the core of it. Anthony Edwards, he's only 23, right? Nicknamed Ant-Man. He's really popping up as maybe the guy to fill that gap. Our sources are highlighting his, well, just insane athleticism, his personality. He's got that charisma and how much buzz he's generating. You see it all over X, ESPN, even places like Vanity Fair. They're all talking about his rising star power.
And the metrics back that up too, like
Hmm?
100 million video views just in the 2024 playoffs. That's second only to LeBron James. That's huge. And get this, he gained, what, 250,000 Instagram followers during those same playoffs? That kind of buzz, that feels organic. It suggests he's connecting with people in a way the league really needs.
Okay, but to really grasp what saving the league even means in this context, we have to talk about Jordan. He's the gold standard, right?
Mhm.
His 15 seasons, especially with the Bulls, I mean, he didn't just dominate statistically, he basically became the NBA for the world, global ambassador stuff.
Yeah, everyone knows the rings and the MVPs. But what did the sources really hammer home about how he did it? It wasn't just the trophies, was it?
No, not at all. It was the sustained dominance. The 6 finals MVPs, 10 scoring titles. It set this unbelievable precedent. Statistically, okay, 30.1 points per game, still the record. But what's really key is he paired that with defense. Like 2.3 steals a game, defensive player of the year in 88. That two-way impact was just different.
And the playoff numbers are just wild. A record 33.4 points per game, shooting almost 49%. When you dig into those numbers, how unprecedented was that back then in those really physical playoff battles?
Oh, totally unheard of. His ability to just shift into another gear when everything was on the line against the toughest D, it really showed his dominance. And that's before you even get to the intangibles, that perfect 6-0 in the finals. Clutch moments like the shot, the sheer willpower, like the flu game, scoring 38 when he could barely stand. These weren't just highlights, they were who he was, relentless competitor. And then off-court, Air Jordan, Space Jam, he became this global cultural figure.
Okay, so that's the mountaintop, Jordan. Now let's bring it back to Anthony Edwards and his climb. First pick in 2020, shoots up fast. By his fifth season, 2024-25, he's already a three-time All-Star, made All-NBA second team in 24, and crucially, led Minnesota to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. That's a serious resume already.
Definitely. And his regular season numbers show that clear upward curve. Through 24-25, he's averaging what? Almost 26 points, over 5 boards, 4 assists a game, plus 1.3 steals, nearly a block, shooting respectable percentages, 46% from the field, nearly 36% from 3. And he plays, right. He's been pretty durable over those 300-plus games.
And come playoff time, he seems to find another level. His playoff averages as of 2024 are up to 28 points a game, and he's hitting over 38% from three. That's superstar production, especially for a guy his age.
Yeah, and looking at specific big games, that 43-point explosion against Denver in Game 1 of the 24 playoffs, his career-high 53 against Detroit this past season, or that near triple-double, 29, 10, and 9 against Dallas in the playoffs, he shows up in big moments.
And here's a stat that really frames it historically. In the 2024 playoffs, he put up over 400 points, 100 rebounds, and 100 assists. Only one other player ever did that at age 22 or younger, LeBron James. That's a company he's keeping early on. Oh, and he snagged an Olympic gold in 2024, too. Quite the start.
Okay, so we have the context for both. Now, the head-to-head, how does Edwards really stack up against Jordan on the court, especially early on? Let's look at age 22.
Right. So Jordan's age 22 season, 84-85, 28.2 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5.9 assists, 2.4 steals, 0.8 blocks. And the efficiency was crazy, 51.5% shooting. Edwards, his age 22 season, 23-24, 25.9 points, 5.6 rebounds, 5.1 assists, 1.3 steals, 1.5 blocks, shooting 46.1%. What jumps out right away there?
Well, first thing is Jordan's efficiency, like you said. And that defensive impact, those 2.4 steals right out of the gate, that points to a gap, you know? An all-around impact Edwards is still building towards if we're talking the savior idea. And remember, Jordan did that in an era with hand-checking, much rougher play. Edwards' three-point shooting, though, that 35.7%, that shows he's built for the modern game, the spacing, the long ball.
Good point. And playoffs. Edwards' numbers are really good. 28 points, 38% from three. But Jordan's 33.4 points on almost 49% shooting in the playoffs. That's just a different stratosphere, isn't it? That's sustained postseason dominance.
It really is. And then look at the hardware. By the time Jordan was at Edwards' current career stage, end of year 4, he already had 3 All-NBAs, a Defensive Player of the Year, and an MVP. He averaged, 37 points a game one season. Edwards is a fantastic scorer, led the league in threes made in 24-25, but he just doesn't have those same early top-tier accolades, especially on the defensive end. Okay, let's shift from stats to the physical tools. They're actually pretty similar builds, aren't they? Edwards is 6'4", 225. Jordan was listed 6'6", when around 215. Both just elite athletes, incredible body control. You see Edwards throw down those dunks like the one over Looney. It definitely gives you Jordan flashbacks. And people even compare his footwork to MJ and Kobe. That ability to just explode past guys or finish creatively.
Totally. And Edwards has clearly worked on his game to fit today's NBA. That jump in his three-point percentage from like 33% as a rookie to nearly 40% in 24-25. That's huge. Shows he can adapt. But there's still that defensive gap we mentioned. Jordan thrived in that physical era, used his strength and quickness. 2.3 steals, DPOY. That's elite defense. Edwards has improved defensively, like how he guarded Jamal Murray in 2024, holding him to just over 40% shooting. That shows real promise. But he's not consistently that lockdown guy yet, not like Jordan was.
Okay, what about the mental side? This is where the whole killer instinct conversation really comes in. Jordan's toughness was just legendary. The flu game is the famous one, but there were so many moments.
Yeah, sources say doctors basically wanted to bench him in the flu game, but he just wouldn't let them. It's almost myth now, but that sheer will, that was Jordan and Edwards. Yeah. He definitely shows that competitive fire. Remember him jawing at KD in the playoffs? He even talks about drawing inspiration from Jordan's mindset. He said in a TNT interview something like, MJ said, "Why worry about a miss if I haven't shot it yet?" That's the mentality. And he delivers under pressure sometimes, like that 44-point game against Memphis. It's developing.
Yeah, and there's often a but when comparing to Jordan. What are the growth areas here mentally? He's gotten some criticism for decision-making, right?
Yeah.
Coach Finch mentioned it after a loss in 2025. Even Stephen A. Smith, who was really high on the Edwards-Jordan comparison, kind of walked it back in 2025. He pointed to Edwards struggling against double teams in that OKC series loss. Now, it's great that Edwards apparently called Jordan for advice on beating double teams, shows self-awareness. But sometimes under pressure, he seems to maybe not fight through it the same way Jordan always seemed to. Is that fair?
It's a fair observation based on what we've seen so far. Jordan's adaptability under pressure was relentless. Edwards is still learning that consistent counterpunch. Okay, last big piece. Culture and marketability. This is crucial for the savior talk. Jordan basically wrote the book on athlete branding with Air Jordan, right? He made the NBA global, became a household name everywhere through ads, movies.
Yeah, he set the whole template. And Edwards.
Yeah.
He's definitely building that profile. Got his own Adidas shoe, a Netflix doc coming out. He has that charisma, that it factor Alex Rodriguez talked about, and those 100 million playoff views. Clearly, he's already a super marketable star.
He is. However, this is where the modern era really differs. Edwards has had some off-court stuff, right? Pregnancy-related issues, fines adding up to like $280,000. In today's world with social media everywhere, that stuff sticks differently. Jordan had his own controversies, sure, but they were often handled much more behind the scenes. Edwards doesn't really have that luxury. That constant scrutiny is a massive challenge Jordan didn't face in the same way.
Okay, so we've mapped out the league's needs, Jordan's benchmark, Edwards' rise. Let's hit the main question. Can Anthony Edwards really be the NBA's savior? I mean, his path looks promising, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. That 2024 playoff run, sweeping Phoenix, pushing Denver hard, that screams superstar potential. You hear guys like DeMarcus Cousins, Kevin Garnett talking him up, praising his global appeal, his charisma. Those are the exact things you need to boost ratings and relevance. People on X are already throwing around generational talent, comparing his early path to LeBron's, and again, pulling 250K Instagram followers in one postseason. That's tapping into something big, maybe Jordan-esque in its early stages.
But it's interesting. Edwards himself pushes back on the Jordan comparison. He's quoted saying he's the greatest of all time. I can't be compared to him. That's humble. But does that contrast with Jordan's supreme confidence maybe matter in terms of cultural impact?
That's a really interesting angle. Jordan's self-belief was almost part of the brand, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Edwards' humility is refreshing, maybe, but in the world of global superstardom, does it land the same way? Plus, remember that comment he made about only Jordan having skill back in the day? That rubs some older fans the wrong way. You need those fans, too, if you're broadening the appeal.
So let's reassess quickly. Physically, checks the boxes. Elite athlete, improving shooter, getting better defensively. Footwork like MJ or Wade. Mentally, got the fire, the trash talk, echoes of Jordan there.
Yeah, but the sources consistently point out, still needs more consistency in clutch moments, needs to expand the offensive game beyond just drives and threes, maybe develop that killer mid-range game Jordan had. That's a big step needed to truly carry a league like MJ did.
And the path isn't exactly clear, is it? There are hurdles, the biggest one maybe being the lack of hardware so far. No MVPs, no rings at 23. Jordan had an MVP by 24, first ring at 27. Edwards has to lead Minnesota to a title, probably to really reach that level, right? What else stands in his way?
Consistency is definitely up there. Beating those double teams consistently, making the right play under pressure every time, that needs to become automatic like it was for Jordan. And then there's that cultural weight in the social media age we talked about. Jordan built this almost mythical image partly because things weren't under a 24/7 microscope. Edwards' off-court issues, even minor ones, can blow up and potentially hurt his marketability long-term.
Plus, he's not the only young star rising. You've got Victor Wembanyama, who's just this totally unique phenomenon. Does having other potential faces of the league dilute the focus on Edwards?
It could, yeah. It splits the attention. But look, despite all these challenges, the biggest thing Edwards has is time. He's only 23. That 24-25 season, scoring 53, leading the league in threes, it shows he's still adding weapons. If he keeps winning in the playoffs, sharpens his decision-making, and manages the off-court stuff, he could absolutely get close to Jordan's on-court impact by his late 20s.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up. Anthony Edwards clearly have the physical gifts, the athleticism, the moves, the shots getting there to look like Jordan sometimes on the court, and the charisma, the marketability. They definitely position him as maybe the next big thing for the NBA. But he's still lagging in those key Jordan areas, the big awards, the defense, that relentless mental edge.
Yeah, and Jordan's standard 6 rings, 5 MVPs, that unmatched global brand was built in a totally different media world. It's just an incredibly high bar, maybe an impossible one today with the constant scrutiny.
So Anthony Edwards, yeah, historic pace at 23, but it's complicated, isn't it? Off-court stuff, other stars rising like Wemby. He might not be the next Jordan, he even said so himself. So maybe the real question for you listening is this. Can he become the first Anthony Edwards, a totally unique superstar who can revitalize the league by, say, 2030, by winning titles with Minnesota, polishing his game, and navigating that intense social media spotlight? What do you think?